Good day and welcome to another session of Larteen Math tutorials. So in these tutorials, we will learn how to use the scientific calculator to solve problems involving standard form, which is also referred to as scientific notation. We will learn how to simplify and convert some expressions into their standard form. So standard form is a way of expressing very large numbers into their reduced form. For example, if you have the number 54 billion, it can be converted into a standard form as 5.4 times 10 raised to the power 10, which means 5.4 times 10 raised to the power 10 is the same as 54 billion, but in its reduced form. Also, if you have the number 64 million, so we can realize that 64 million is quite a large number. So it can also be converted into a standard form as 6.4 times 10 raised to the power 7. This does not necessarily mean that it is only large numbers that can be converted into standard form. For example, if you have the number 26, 26 can be converted into a standard form as 2.6 times 10 raised to the power 1. So that is basically the idea behind standard form. So how do we do these conversions using the scientific calculator? So that is what we are going to learn about in this particular video. We will discuss about how to use the scientific calculator to input, simplify, and convert values into their standard form. Standard form is somewhat related to significant figures. So before we move on to the main questions, let us take some few minutes to learn about significant figures. So how many significant figures does the following values have? So for our first question, we have 0.061. So how many significant figures does 0.061 have? So now, when we are checking for significant figures, we do not consider the initial zeros, that is, the zeros on the left side of the expression. So for the first example, we have 0.061, which means we will not consider the first two zeros. So this means that 6 is our first significant figure and 1 is our second significant figure. So I can conclude that 0.061 is in two significant figures. So now let us move on to the second example. So for our second example, we have 0.81 and we have one initial zero. And as I initially stated, the zeros on the left side of the value will not be considered, which means 8 will be our first significant figure and 1 will be our second significant figure. So I can conclude that 0.81 is in two significant figures. Now, for our third example, we have 61.3. And for this particular expression, there are no zeros at the left side of the number. So 6 will be our first significant figure, 1 will be our second significant figure, and 3 will be our third significant figure, which means 61.3 is in three significant figures. So for our fourth example, we have 60. And for this particular number, the 0 is on the right side of the number, which means it will be considered. So this means that 6 is our first significant figure and 0 is our second significant figure. So 60 is in two significant figures. Now, for our fifth example, we have 7036, 7036, and the 0 is in the middle of the number, which means it will be considered when we are checking for significant figures. So 7 will be our first significant figure, 0 will be our second significant figure, 3 will be our third significant figure, and 6 will be our fourth significant figure. So I can conclude that this particular number is in four significant figures. I hope you have gotten a fair idea on what significant figures are. So now, let us move on to the main questions. So these are the questions. And for our first question, we have to express 0.004306 in standard form. Now, in using the scientific calculator to express values in their standard form, we use a particular item in the setup menu known as SCI. So SCI is an abbreviation for scientific notation. So what we have to do first is to enter the expression into the calculator, and afterwards we go on to convert that particular expression into its standard form using the scientific calculator. So for our first question, we have to express 0.004306 in standard form. So I input that into the calculator. So we have 0.0043064306. Afterwards, I tap on equal to. So if I tap on equal to, this is the same as 0.004306. And now I want to convert this particular value into a standard form. So what I have to do first is to activate the setup menu. Now, the setup menu is just beside the mode menu. and it is yellow in color, which means I will have to use the shift key to activate it. So I simply tap on shift and then mode to activate the setup menu. And now I choose option 7, which is SCI. So I choose option 7. So when I choose this particular option, it has a given range from 0 to 9. And the range indicates the number of significant figures that you want to leave your results in. Now, when we check the first example, we have 0.004306. And as I earlier stated, we do not consider the initial zeros. So 4 will be the first significant figure, 3 will be the second significant figure, 0 will be the third significant figure, and 6 will be the fourth significant figure, which means 0.004306 is in 4 significant figures. And now when we check the possible answers, for the A, we have 43.06, which is in 4 significant figures. B, we have 4.306, which is also in 4 significant figures. For the C, we have 0.4306, which is also in 4 significant figures. So I simply tap on 4. And now we have the results as 4.306 times 10 raised to the power negative 3, which means the answer to this particular question is B. So now let us move on to the second question. So for our second question, we are to express the product of 0.06 and 0.09 in standard form. So what is the meaning of product? Product simply means multiplication, which means we are going to multiply 0.06 and 0.09. So I input that into the calculator. So we have 0.06 times 0.09, and then I tap on equal to. So if I tap on equal to, and if you want to convert this particular fraction into decimals, you simply tap on SD. So we have 0.0054. And now when we check the number 0.0054, it is in 2 significant figures. So now let us convert it into standard form. So what I have to do is to first activate the setup menu. I tap on shift and then mode to activate the setup menu, and then I choose 7, which is scientific notation. So when we check the possible answers, we can see that all of them are in 2 significant figures. So I simply tap on 2. And then I tap on SD to convert this particular result into decimal. So we have 5.4 times 10 raised to the power negative 3, which means the answer to the second question is C. Now, let us move on to the third question. So for the third question, we have to simplify this particular expression, leaving our answer in standard form or scientific notation. So as I initially stated, what I have to do is to first input the expression into the calculator. So this expression is a fraction. So when entering it into the calculator, I first have to activate my fraction symbol. So I tap on the fraction symbol, and we have 0.6 times 32, 0.6 times 32 times 0.004 times 0.004. And then I use the arrow keys to navigate to the denominator. We have 1.2 times 0.008 times 0.008 times 0.16 times 0.16. So I have successfully inputted the expression. I tap on equal to. So we have 50. And I want to convert it into standard form. So when we check the results 50, it is in 2 significant figures, as we learned earlier. So now I want to convert it into standard form. So I follow the same procedure that I used earlier. So I tap on shift and then mode to activate the setup menu, and then I choose option 7, which is scientific notation. So 50 is in 2 significant figures. So what I have to do is to simply tap on 2. So we have 5.0 times 10 raised to the power 1. So now let us see what happens when I choose a very higher significant figure instead of 2. So I tap on shift and then mode to activate the setup menu. I choose option 7. So instead of inputting 2, let me input 4, and let's see what happens. So if I input 4, we can see that the calculator has left the results in 4 significant figures, which is 5.000. So we know that 5.000 is the same as 5.0. So now let us move on to the fourth question. But before that, I have to clear the calculator's memory. So I tap on shift and 9 to activate clear, and then I choose option 1, which is setup. I tap on equal to and then AC. So for our fourth example, we have to evaluate this particular expression, leaving our answer in standard form. So when we check the fourth example, the expression is in a square root, which means when we are inputting it into the calculator, we first have to activate the square root symbol. So I tap on the square root symbol, and the expression is a fraction. So what I have to do next is to activate the fraction symbol. So I tap on the fraction symbol, and we have 0.0048. So 0.0048 times 0.81 times 10 raised to the power negative 7. So 10, and then I activate the power symbol, and then I input negative 7. So I've successfully inputted the numerator, and then I use the arrow keys to navigate to the denominator. So for the denominator, we have 0.027 times 0.04 times 10 raised to the power 6. So times 10 to the power 6. So I have successfully inputted the expression into the calculator. So I tap on equal to. So if I want to convert this fraction into decimals, I tap on SD. And we have 0.0000006. So now I want to convert this into standard form. So I tap on Shift and then Mode to activate the setup menu, and then I choose option 7, which is scientific notation. And afterwards, I simply tap on 1 because the result was in one significant figure. So I tap on SD to convert it into decimals. So we have 6 times 10 raised to the power negative 7. Now, let us see what happens when we choose a higher significant figure. So now, I activate the setup menu. I choose option 7. And instead of choosing one significant figure, let me choose 5 significant figures, and let us all observe what happens. So we have 6.0000, which is in 5 significant figures. So if you have 6.00, it is the same as 6, which means this particular result is the same as 6 times 10 raised to the power negative 7. Now, let us move on to the last example. So we have to simplify this particular expression, leaving our answer in standard form. So what I have to do is to input the expression into the calculator. So we have 0.15, and I want to convert this into standard form. So I first activate the setup menu. I tap on Shift and then Mode, and afterwards I choose option 7. So all the results has been given in 2 significant figures. So I simply tap on 2. And then I tap on SD to convert it into decimals. So we have 1.5 times 10 raised to the power negative 1, which means the answer to this particular example is A. So we have come to the end of these tutorials, and we learned about how to use our scientific calculator to solve problems involving standard form or scientific notation. I hope you found this video very helpful. My name is Larteen and I hope we had an amazing time together. Thank you, and have a nice day.